All wars end eventually, and this current war between Russia and Ukraine, this invasion, will come to end. We would like to think about how to make sure that the next war is not happening, that in 10, 15, 20 years our children and our grandchildren are not going to do it all over again, that we have a stable peace afterwards so that we can develop as a country, we can build our future, and not always expecting that our neighbor will attack us again. And there are basically four ways to make Ukraine safe. The first option is for Russia to become a free and democratic state, pay reparations, restore what it destroyed in Ukraine, and join NATO and the EU. Unfortunately, it is fantasy. We would like to have that. We would like to have them as our good neighbors. But the problem not in Putin. The problem is in Russians, because they are unfortunately imperialists, and they will elect or in any other way they will bring to power another Putin in 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And they had quite a lot of such personalities in the past, like Ivan the Terrible or Peter the Great or Stalin. Even those people from Russian history you don't know about because they were not so colorful as the ones that I mentioned, they were terrible as well. Unfortunately, the Russian population is thoroughly educated in imperialism. They will measure everything if it is good for make Russia great, and being great they think as being big, as being able to conquer neighboring countries and to threaten them. That's the outlook they have, unfortunately. So I cannot see it happening. Some Russian oppositioners, they are imperialists as well. Ask any one of them if they are willing to let go, for example, of Tatarstan or any other members of Russian so-called federation, which is federation in name only. So if they are willing to let them be independent, and you can see their brain short circuit because it's unthinkable for them. Ask this question and you will see the result. They won't like it. Unfortunately. So some of those opposition leaders or opposition personalities, they can say that, well, if it was World War II, you would be saying the same about Germans, that they are irredeemably bad people. Look at Germans now. And yes, they probably are right. But for Germans to become the people they are now, well, it involves in quite a lot of soul searching. But before they were doing soul searching, they were completely demolished. They were conquered. Their cities were demolished. Their population was killed. Their children were killed. Their industry destroyed. They were occupied. They were divided. And I just cannot see this happening right now with Russia. Our Western allies don't allow us to shoot at Russian territory in the fear of provoking Russia for something. It is obvious, and it was said quite a lot of times, that we are giving weapons with the express condition not to use it against Russian territory. If we made some UAV ourselves and then send it to Russia, well, yeah, it's a fair game. But if it is some rocket that we received from, for example, United States, I think the agreement is that we cannot shoot at Russian territory with it. So I don't see the way. I mean, we Ukrainians don't have enough power to occupy Russia. And I cannot see that other countries are going into alliance with us and then we do it together. There will be no occupation of Russia. There will be no re-education of Russian population. There will be not thoroughly defeated. You can say the same for Germans after World War I. They were not thoroughly defeated. Well, they were thoroughly defeated, but they were not occupied, and the fight was conducted on the territory of other countries. And at the end, they thought that they were not actually defeated in the battlefield, that they were betrayed, and Russians can do the same. They will say themselves that they were not defeated, they were betrayed by the West, and Ukraine was not victorious because it was not Ukraine who was fighting, it was, as they are saying right now, that it was NATO soldiers disguised as Ukrainians were fighting on our side. That was not our people, it was not our citizens. It's laughable, but Russians have a great capacity for self-illusion. So it will not happen, unfortunately. Okay, let's think about some other options. So the second option is to destroy the Russian Federation and turn it into smaller republics. You can see there, mock-up, future map of Northern Eurasia, former Russian Federation. It's just, it's just an idea. It's not what it's going to be like. Probably, for example, Moscow will be Moscowy, and St. Petersburg will be like Intermglandia or whatever it was called during some historical times. We Ukrainians would like that. Quite a lot of our people would like to divide the Russians and then to face not with one united Russian Federation, but with assortment with the smaller and weaker states that probably will refrain from attacking us because they will lack the resources and the confidence that Russian had, that we are big and then we can just, look sternly at Ukraine and Ukraine will collapse. That's the idea they had, because they think that being big is the same as being great. Well, I cannot see the way it's going to happen because of nuclear weapons. I think that United States will be working against it, against the dissolution of Russian Federation, because they would like to have one entity they can deal with, not an assortment with warlords, some of them probably with nuclear weapons. That was the fear of United States when Soviet Union was dissolving, that they will have to deal with several, potentially 15 other countries with nuclear weapons. And they greatly dislike this idea. And George Bush, the father, he was actually begging leaders of Soviet republics not to dissolve the Soviet Union because of that. It was one of the reasons. And when Putin now says that United States were the force behind the dissolution and collapse of Soviet Union, it's not. It isn't true. Like anything Putin says, any historical thing that he's saying is just bullshit. So, in conclusion, we would like to have it, but we don't think that it will be happening. If it happens, it will be organic, then Russian army will be completely demolished in Ukraine, and central government will not have enough resources to prevent some national republics from separating. Probably this is the way it can happen, but it is not sure. We would like it, but we are not sure it will happen. On the other hand, if it even happens, there is no guarantee then in several years when the central government again will be stronger, they will not unite them again, and on the wave of this unification, or in the euphoria of such unification, they will not attempt to do something stupid again. So there is no guarantee. And probably the division of Russia, maybe it is also good thing for Russians, so that they, for example, right now they have oppressive government, but in case of division, they will have quite a lot of governments, and some of them might be more oppressive, and some of them might be less oppressive. And now, to travel out of Russia, it's quite an undertaking. But in that case, they will still be within Russian Federation culture, but they can travel, for example, several hundred kilometers, and they will be under another government with less restrictions, with less draconian laws, so they can vote with their feet. Probably it can be, again, it's all hypothetical. The third way is for Ukraine to join NATO. And it is probably the most feasible way, to ensure that Russia will not attack us again. Because we can see right now that it is refraining from attacking NATO countries, because they know that they will lose and lose badly. So it is probably the most direct, the most sure way to prevent it, but it is not without some obstacles. Because, for example, we have Hungary that can they are quite pro-Russian. They can vote against it, and to become part of NATO, you need a unanimous decision from all the other NATO members, and we can see this in the case of Sweden and Finland, which applied at the same time, but one of the NATO countries, Turkey, has a problem with Sweden, and now Finland is in NATO and Sweden is still not, because of some beef that Turkey has against Swedish government, saying that they are harboring their opposition leaders, who they are calling terrorists. we can have problems. Until this war is finished and some settlement is reached with Russia, we will not be in NATO. And even then, there is no guarantee that we will become NATO, because Russia can use their influence and influence some NATO countries to vote against us, as they were influencing Germany before this full-scale invasion. They had assurance from Germany that Germany will block the entrance of Ukraine into NATO. So their pretense of this war, that NATO was going to put some military bases in Ukraine, and Ukraine will become a part of NATO, and then can threaten Moscow from like 600 kilometers away only. Now they have Finland, who is the part of NATO, and the Finnish border is less than 150 kilometers from St. Petersburg, the second largest city in and former capital city of Russia. So, as always, everything Putin says is bullshit. So let's consider the possibility that we are not invited into NATO. We are not allowed. We are blocked by some asshole country. So the next option, the fourth option, maybe the most expensive one, is to develop our own nuclear weapons. We had nuclear weapons. We were part of Soviet Union. We had quite a lot of them stationed in our territories. They were giant silos with intercontinental ballistic missiles aimed at United States in Ukraine during Soviet times. Most of them, well, all of them are destroyed. At least one of them was partially destroyed and turned into museum. Also, we had quite a lot of strategic bombers stationed in our territories, like those Tu-95s that are attacking Ukraine from Russia right now. Some of them were stationed in Ukraine during Soviet times. So we can do that. We had all this when Ukraine became independent. Quite a lot of those weapons remained into our territory and were under our control. And we gave them up. We gave them up for, as we thought, guarantees that we will not be invaded. And then one of the parties of this agreement is invading us. And the other parties say that it was not a guarantees. They were not guarantees, they were assurances. And to us, it was outrageous. We exchange, it happened so that we exchange something real, the real shield that will protect us from invasion, for just empty words. And then one of the parties of this agreement is invading us. All these non-proliferation treaties that we signed, they were contingent of us giving up nuclear weapons and not being invaded. Now we are invaded, and so we should not abide by any of them. They should not be binding to us at all. And be sure, none of these atrocities would happen. This invasion would not happen. All these killed in this invasion would be alive if we still had our nuclear weapons. But this will be the most expensive and the most dangerous path for us to achieve our security. Because, developing of nuclear weapons is quite expensive, and I'm not sure if we have resources to do that, or if our government will even consider of doing this. Much better, of course, to be under U.S. nuclear umbrella. We will be safe, and we have not to worry about developing and squandering quite a lot of resources for our own nuclear program. And we will be resisted. We will be pressured not to do that. And right now, of course, we cannot do that because we don't have resources. We cannot even finish our ballistic missile program like GROM, which was together with Saudi Arabians. So there is no way we can pull off this one. Also, we are quite dependent of Western help, and it will be withdrawal in a second if we are starting, even saying about nuclear program. But it is a possibility. It is a possibility, it is an option, but not really. I don't think that our political leaders will even consider it. So, to conclude, there are 4 ways to make Ukraine safe, but most feasible is probably to join NATO. It will be difficult. It will happen not today, and at least not till this war ends. But it is less difficult than to, for example, invade Russia, to divide it into several countries, or to re-educate all the Russians and for them to become good people. So, well, our future is in NATO, probably. Thank you for watching. Stay safe. And till next time. Bye.